Juan, welcome back to the Building and Growing podcast. It's a pleasure to have you back on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
You're most welcome. So today we're going to talk about marketing and how Rebank, used a team of non-marketers to create a killer marketing strategy. For those who may not have seen the last episode, do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself, and then we can dive into a few questions?
Sure. So I'm Juan. I'm one of the founders of Rebank, and Rebank was started in 2018. Before that, I'd worked mostly in financial services, going from insurance, digital cash, cards, and then worked for a travel startup, a Google Ventures-backed travel startup, right before starting Rebank. That's where I found the problem that made me want to start a company. And it's been a couple of crazy years. We got into Y Combinator. We were one of the first startups to be authorized with some new regulations. So that was, a lot of stuff has been happening, least of which marketing. Marketing is something that definitely didn't happen until recently.
Yeah, and look, thanks so much for that introduction. And it's interesting, I've been following your growth over the years, and this year, I think in particular, if not late last year, you sort of went on this rocket ship trajectory with content. But that all happened, I think, without hiring any full-time marketeers.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could tell you more about it. Essentially, I just remember a lot of late nights realizing that we weren't growing.
Yes.
Growth was flat. So when growth is flat, a first-time founder like me thinks, I need a growth person.
Yes.
That's sort of where it started. Where it ended up is us just rolling up our sleeves, creating a sort of content team, and now where we are up to is just it's just a completely different place where all of our customers come from content and community, and we've got now about 4,500 lead signups. Wow. that we don't. Yeah, we're now figuring out. Okay, we've sort of figured stuff out. How do we actually convert? So a very different place now to where we were over a year ago.
Excellent. And could you talk us through the thought process behind hiring versus building out all of that content in-house?
I think most decisions are, bounded rationality is what led me to believe that it was a growth person that we needed, because I'm not a marketer and there was no marketing expertise in the team. I interviewed 60 different types of marketers, and marketers of all, sales focused and not, and so on. I ended up not hiring anyone, and I learned a lot. And I also, whilst trying to hire, was asking for advice.
Yes.
And I guess where I ended up was I realized that I had to figure this out myself before I was going to, before I could bring someone on.
Yes.
I think the risk, there's a trade-off. There's risk both ways. So if you hire without really knowing what marketing means for your company, you're basically handing over the keys to your house, to your car, to someone that you have no relationship with. You don't know sort of their effectiveness, and they could take it in a different direction and you wouldn't understand. So that's one risk.
Yes.
On the other side, you don't figure out marketing, you take too long, and you die. So, I guess that is that's what was running in my mind. I was like, I don't want to die, so I better hire someone. But then I went back on myself.
Incredible. So, you've got the first option really of hiring someone and losing control of where marketing goes, or do not hire and then risk the company collapsing. And so the third option that you chose was do it DIY, let's say.
And it was what I learned from interviewing so many marketers is that everyone said the same thing, and I just thought I just thought we could do so much more. Everyone was like, okay, you're B2B, we do Google ads, we do LinkedIn, we do this, that, and the other. And that just sounded so boring to me.
Yeah.
I'm not a marketer, but like I am a consumer of advertising and marketing like everyone else. And I just felt like companies were doing like just far more unique, exciting things. And I guess that made me feel like, well, why can't we do that?
Could you talk about the channels that you ended up choosing to work with or create content for?
Yeah, well, the channels themselves are sort of it's all inconsequential in a way, because really it's the process that we followed that got us to that. So that's more important than the actual channels. I mean, the channels now are content and community, but what the way we got there was through experimentation.
Yes.
So through reading a lot and doing a lot of research and getting a lot of advice from real marketers, we decided we needed a process for experimentation and marketing, because marketing isn't like product or engineering. There is no Stack Overflow for marketing where you can just you have a question and you get an answer.
Yes.
It's all a bit nebulous. So we thought, well, what if we run a few experiments a week? We'll find, we can find the right channels. But anyway, yeah, so we experimented with every single channel, but we ended up with content and community.
What was your favorite experiment?
My favorite experiment are the ones that like have the best results. So I think one of our earliest wins was just a post in a community of YC founders, talking to them about a problem that we discovered that they tend to have. Mm-hmm. And we added in scarcity to the sort of offer to the thing that we were saying. We basically wrote a post and said, hey, if you want some advice, we're going to give 10 companies advice for free. Mm-hmm. And that we instantly, like in minutes, got all these companies contacting us saying, oh yeah, we've got this problem, we don't know what to do. So that was really exciting, because when you sort of go from like someone telling you, oh yeah, some companies are talking about this, to doing the first sort of post or initiative and getting some kind of pull, that was really exciting. I think that's my favorite one. The product hunt launches, which we did, we came a second in one of them, second product of the day. Those were really, really exciting as well, but like I think for a different reason.
Yeah, I don't have a product background, but I've heard about Product Hunt before. Could you talk a little bit more about the launches? Because I guess you did the launches as a company that had almost been trading for a little while.
Product Hunt is just a community for founders, mostly US focused, founders and builders. Mm-hmm. And every day, companies launch their products there. And every day, the Product Hunt community can upvote on these products.
Yes. Based
on, I guess, their value or how much they like it. And then, you get a product of the day, product of the month, product of the year. So that is... that's Product Hunt. It is one of the many communities we experimented with, and most of them went nowhere.
You've almost got to plant quite a few seeds and see, which one sprouts in order to understand what's working.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And from the content side, I've seen lots of fantastic videos that you've done on LinkedIn. And in our previous podcast, you mentioned calculators, which are also, I suppose, a form of content, but perhaps a more interactive form. Could you talk a little bit about the content side of things?
Yeah, well, I mean, we it all boils down to our betting table meeting, and our betting table meeting is like where we get together and put our initiatives forward, mm-hmm. and we justify them and so on. And I say that because we didn't intend to create like a content strategy, really.
Yes.
We were just trying to find the best initiatives that were going to help us grow that month. But looking back now, we've basically built this sort of full content, the suite of content calculators, videos, like landing pages with stuff, and we've got newsletters and other things coming out.
Okay.
To nurture, to sort of get people familiar with the problem that we solve, our solution, our brand, and so on. But it was definitely not like formula. Well, the only formula was the experimentation.
Yes.
But yeah, we never said like. Well, I did say we need a content strategy, but I didn't know what I was talking about. We just sort of ended up figuring it out.
So the betting table has led to the videos, the content calculators, newsletters are soon to come. You've got the communities. That's excellent. Is there any other sort of channel that we haven't covered?
Well, I think what's interesting for us is how channels evolve. So like community meant something very different to us at the beginning. Community now is finding a group of, I guess, people that are dedicated to a thing, finding a tribe and gaining trust from that tribe, but not just like, a pedestrian level trust, like to be, a key partner in that tribe.
Yes.
Right. So the reason I say this is that initially we were just posting stuff on Reddit, posting stuff on Indie Hackers and other communities, and be like, oh yeah, that's kind of okay. But like to do community well, you have to invest fully and you have to aim high.
Yes.
You have to be the thing that people talk about on a weekly basis, or that you can help people on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
But there's elements of outbound in our community. You see what I mean? So
yeah.
So like so outbound is like one of the ways that content and community then sort of converts.
Yes.
But yeah, it is just those two.
Okay. And when it comes to tracking and let's say metrics, what are the key things that you would look at? Are you looking at impressions, clicks? Can you tell us more about that?
We look at all of it. We go from organic impressions all the way down to new companies sending their first payment per week. I think the important thing is the cadence, so it has to be weekly. Mm-hmm. I think most products it should be weekly. Obviously, for bigger consumer products, it should even be daily.
Yes.
But for us, weekly is good. So every Monday we review all of these numbers.
Okay.
What do we sort of move back and forth between what we want to focus on. Right now, we're really trying to find the most direct path to revenue.
Yes.
But previously, it was more about engaging with communities and impressions, or sort of like click-through rate of a promotion or something like that.
Okay.
But now it's very much directly focused on revenue.
Fantastic. I remember, back in the day, I looked at a case study of Wise and their SEO and organic sort of search strategy, and they built almost this huge sort of mountain of backlinks that have come through. I know you guys are focusing a lot on say video. What are your views on sort of the backlinking side of things?
We do some backlinking. We get companies, contacting us and saying, do you want to do a little swap and things like that? But it's not really our focus.
Yes.
And that's, a lot of this is still experimentation. We're still sort of, it's almost like we're not quite, our eyes aren't completely closed now. They're sort of half open, but we're still feeling around, trying to feel where the right market pool is and the right channel mix and so on.
Uh-huh.
Backlinks are not the thing right now, but what is for us, it's just content and using. So again, like I talked about the evolution of community. Mm-hmm. Now I can talk about the evolution of content. Things that on their own look shitty sometimes have other purposes that help the overall strategy. So,
yes.
You asked about, is backlinks important? It isn't, but I'll tell you what is.
Uh-huh.
we've been doing, I think I've done maybe 150 short form videos now, almost on a daily basis.
Wow.
And like, we're not, we don't have 1 million followers or anything, but what that has taught us is that, I guess, is the different velocities or the different rules of each platform.
Yes.
And then you use that to your advantage. So where before we'd be like, this customer was curious about FX margins, we should write an article. And then we'd write it, and then we'd wait 4 weeks, and we'd be like, oh, that's a shitty article, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
What we can do now is just post 4 or 5 videos in 2-3 days about different topics. And they're not going to like give you 400,000 likes or anything, but what they will give you is some data as to what people find interesting.
Yes.
And then you can double down on that into your sort of more, like invest more into it, write an article which will take a day, but those videos would take me 20 minutes or less.
Yes.
Right. So that is what is important to us. It's like, how do we double down on content as a product in itself, versus the SEO stuff. We don't understand SEO, and we probably do really well if we got it right, but I feel like SEO is like a old sort of game.
Yeah.
I don't know what else there is to do there.
Yeah, but what you said about the fact that with videos you can record them quickly and then be led by the data is a fantastic learning, and something which certainly I will take away, and I hope the viewers will be able to take away as well. So really like that idea, and hope actually to test it. But in terms of other learnings, beyond that one, what would they be?
Other learnings. Well, maybe instead of a learning, I'll tell you what I'm trying to learn.
Yes.
And it's really how I can, what we've been very sort of data led with marketing, and we always like to analyze. One area that we can't do that easily is with branding.
Okay.
So I guess one thing I'm trying to figure out is like, what is the value of managing a brand. And what I mean by that is keeping your assets consistent at the lowest level, but also making sure your tone is consistent across all your channels and so on. I guess that's something I'm trying to learn more about. So yeah, that's sort of we're moving into the softer side of marketing now, and I will find a metric that is going to help us, but I haven't quite figured that out.
From what we've covered today, it seems like one very important takeaway is to be data driven. So produce content quickly and then see what resonates with different clients. The next one is in terms of communities and content, or just let's say channels in general. Try as many as you can, and don't be discouraged if, let's say, one community doesn't pick up, because another one will. And then the third one, which is one that you referred to as one that you're still learning, is all about that consistency and, let's say, branding. So maybe it's worthwhile people having an idea about that, and trying to learn a bit about what tone is before pushing everything out. Yeah,
and I think the thing that kind of wraps all of that up from an individual's perspective is, the journey that I with the team have been on is we were so afraid to launch at the beginning, because we knew in our heads that the product wasn't ready. But what you learn is that the market doesn't give a fuck what you think or feel. And I mean, if you listen to me, like where I am now, where we are now is we're trying to do multiple things and expecting most of them to fail and fall flat. I'm telling you, like, we don't have 1 million followers, and that's fine. Most people would be a little bit sad about that. So I think that's if you can focus on moving to that point where you, of course, you care about the work, but you understand that 90% of it is no one's going to even sort of bat an eyelid about, then
Yes.
I think that unlocks you mentally to then be able to do all this other shit.
Very, very interesting. So I guess perhaps the most important question of this podcast is, are you going to hire someone for marketing?
Yeah, I'd love to. Right now we're looking at two kinds of hire people that we want to work with. One on the sales or marketing side, and one on the product side.
Yeah, we touched upon learnings before, but would you have any sort of closing remarks or advice for founders who are sort of, maybe they don't think that they're able to do this, or maybe they're sort of, sitting on the fence, worried?
Just, I guess, when I talk to founders about marketing, it always strikes me how completely clueless they are of their plight, their position. And at least, I was completely clueless about marketing, but I was not clueless about the fact that we had a problem. Mm-hmm. So, only the paranoid survive is a quote I'm thinking about, which is not mine, but maybe that's not the right kind of tone to finish it on. But truly, you have to be paranoid, because that's what's going to lead you to change and focus on growth.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, that's a very good quote, the one that you mentioned. And there's another one that comes to my mind. I think it's, if you walk 100 feet in the dark, you don't necessarily know what you're going to see, but you'll see new opportunities and more once you start walking. Would you say that your journey on marketing has been similar? Yeah,
of course. Yeah, we just try new things, and anytime we're spending more than a few days planning, we're like, we need to, we always sort of set hard dates for ourselves, to take that next step. We want to take more steps. So yeah, 100%.
Fantastic. Juan, thanks so much for joining us again. Fantastic insights, and hopefully, you've inspired a few people to give it a go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks.